All right, for the next part in our series, we're going to talk about the meat of a misdemeanor case, and that's dealing with the prosecutor and then what it means to accept a plea deal and then doing the expungement. So let's start off with the prosecutor. Now, one thing you got to keep in mind, they're bombarded. They've got thousands of other cases. You're just one of a stack. And they haven't looked at any of the details of it, and they just really don't care about your case. I mean, we're just going to be frank about it, all right? And they have the people that they have to report to and they have to answer to. We have two types of prosecutors. So one is what I would call the full-time prosecutor. That's their full-time job. They work for the elected prosecutor. And in some counties, those are the ones that are in district court handling the district court cases. An example of that would be like Lone Oak District Court and Little Rock District Court. They have the real full-time prosecutors, and they're in there running the misdemeanor cases. So they have to answer to all their bosses. They have all these policies they got to follow. So for this type of charge, this is generally what they can do, generally what they can't. And then they're under the scrutiny of the judge also. And so sometimes we have situations where the prosecutor wants to be more lenient on this type of charge, but the judge won't approve it. And so they have to be more difficult to work with, because of that. And then their whole advancement, their whole promotion is all based on cases that they win or collecting fines, all that sort of thing. So just think about, well, we're going up and saying, hey, you need to dismiss this, or hey, you need to drop it. We have to have a really damn good reason to be doing that because it goes against everything that's for their career advancement. Now, they're also being audited by these state agencies. So think of it like the IRS looking over your shoulder for your taxes. They have these folks that they've got to answer to, and it's going over all the list of charges, and they've got to explain why they let these go, why they dismissed them. And so because of that, the prosecutors, they get to act really unreasonable. They get paid the same amount no matter what happens. And if they're not comfortable dismissing a case for whatever reason, they would actually just rather go in and lose a trial. That way they could tell everybody that they lost a trial. I had one very recently where I was trying to deal with the prosecutor, and my client was charged with a crime, and there was 3 of them. And basically my argument was, hey, you've got the wrong one, work out a deal with us. We can testify against the other 2, and that'll make your case bulletproof, but you got some big weaknesses on your case against my client. Prosecutor told me, he's like, I absolutely agree. I hear everything that you're saying, but I don't want to be seen dropping this. So I'd rather just go to trial and lose it. And he can go on a whim like that, and we just have to deal with it. But the good part about it is the prosecutor is going to make an offer to us at some point along the way. And for almost every charge, the offer will not include jail time. All right. So it'll have some amount of fine, some amount of community service, and then maybe a little bit of probation. So the big decision for you being the client is, do you take this deal or do you run the risk of going to trial? And so we use quite often what we call a plea and expunge, and it's part of our pricing structure. It's in your contract. So let's say you're facing an A misdemeanor, whatever it is. So you're at risk of going to jail for a year or a $2,500 fine. And then let's say the prosecutor says, all right, here's my offer. You plead guilty to it. It's a $500 fine and 5 days of community service. We know that you don't want to do that. And we know that it hurts to, stand up and say you did something that you didn't do, and you want to fight it and you want to have your voice heard in court. But if you have your voice heard in court, you run the risk of going to jail for a year and then paying that $2,500 fine. So is it really worth that? And the tool that we use, what we're going to tell you is, here's the plea offer. So if we take it, which guarantees you're not going to go to jail, as soon as you pay the fine, as soon as you do the community service, you complete all the requirements, you can expunge it off your record. And so as long as it's not a DWI or a domestic battery. And if we take that deal, we guarantee you're not going to jail. We protect your freedom. We're going to go take that deal, pay the fine, do the community service, then we're going to turn around and expunge it as if it never happened. So what happens with a lot of folks, in the beginning, they're like, no, I'm not taking a deal. I'm never going to say that. I'm going to trial. But as trial gets closer and the reality starts setting in of, hey, you might go to jail over this. Is it really worth that? Or is it better to just take the plea, take the deal, let's get through it and turn around and expunge it? So that's why we have that in place for our clients, because 98% of the time, the smart thing to do is just take the deal and then turn around and get it expunged. I had a case recently, a client turned the deal down, insisted on a trial. We won it by the skin of our teeth, but the judge was very unhappy with the client, and the client, frankly, was very, very close to doing some significant jail time. So whenever we're presenting to you, hey, here's this plea offer, it's the smart thing to do. It's not that we're afraid to go to trial. I mean, I'm always happy to go to trial. It's just, I'm walking out of there. The risk is all on you of if you go to jail or not. And so we're just making that offer of the plea and expunge to where you can preserve your freedom, guarantee you're not going to jail, and then we can get it expunged as if it never happened and get it off your record and get you on with the rest of your life. But that's how that component works. In the next one, we'll be talking about the trial. Thanks.